Another contract extension at Liverpool FC as their PL title quest nears its end. And following a dominant McLaren performance in Jeddah, are Red Bull looking for a Max Verstappen replacement already? And we give MG a history lesson on a legendary pitcher of the past in NPB. Plus, more hockey updates from European League playoffs as the season nears its end. All this and more on this episode of the International Sports Report. Hello and welcome to the International Sports Report here for the week of April the 22nd of 2025. My name is Marshall Emmert. I'm joined once again after a few weeks' absence by Matthew Giesecke. MG, welcome back. I know that I think I said in last week's show it's headless chicken hours. I guess more like headless Easter bunny hours. I don't know. Towards the end of this month, but we got it all figured out. You're back. We're going to be talking hockey again towards the end of the show. I'm looking forward to it. But tell us what you've been up to in your absence.
Man, so much. This past weekend, Easter weekend, is a very, very big time for me. It's the Louisiana Tech Stage Combat Workshop. Out when I'm not podcasting about Japanese baseball and European hockey, I work as a fight choreographer. And sometimes stunt performer. So this that Easter weekend is always a very big deal for me. Hang out with my friends, eat some crawfish, sling some steel. You know how it goes.
It sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it's the best. You need to come one year.
Oh, I will. I mean, we'll see. I haven't swung a sword in a very long time, and I think the last time I got any sort of stage combat training was the last time you and I were in the same room together, which was something like 10 years ago. So anyway.
10 years ago, yeah.
All right, yeah, we got a lot to unpack on today's show. First things first, we get to our top stories. I know you don't want to talk about this team right now. But good things happening for Liverpool FC after they get the win and send Leicester City packing in the first annual and probably not one for the next few years ISN derby. 1-0, a late winner from Trent Alexander-Arnold was what did. Yep. Painful stuff. Did you want to get a word in just sort of as a, let's say, a short...
Yeah, maybe this time they'll finally fire John Rudkin.
He's going to get right in it. Go on then. Go on. Go off.
Yeah, I mean, like, we sleepwalked into relegation 2 seasons ago. Nothing changed on the board, and we came back up. We had a really good time with Maresca in the championship. He immediately ran to Chelsea, like we all knew was going to happen. Nothing changed on the board, and this season, it looks... I mean, I could count on one hand the number of players on our squad that look like they've ever touched a football before. And I mean, you know, there's a lot of discourse in the fan communities online about like, oh yeah, we should have kept Steve Cooper. Steve Cooper was not keeping us up.
Yes.
Van Nistelrooy might have sped our relegation. Like we may not have gone down with 5 games to go with Cooper, but there is not a snowball's chance in hell that Steve Cooper was keeping this team in the Premiership.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, he was not.
We had some highlights in the season. Got the second youngest player in league history
That's cool.
to make an appearance, which is very nice. We got a really good win against Tottenham early in the season,
That was also
which is
cool.
something to hold over my brother-in-law.
Ooh, a
Um,
story for another day.
yes, my sister's husband, his family comes from Tottenham, so
Oh, a naturalized
um,
Spurs fan. Oh,
yes. But yeah, just all around, just what a disaster of a season.
yeah, painful
And
stuff.
I did not have hope for a very long time. I've not had hope about this Leicester City squad. So maybe we'll get some shakeup on the board, which is very necessary.
Completely.
I don't want the Srivadana Prabha family to sell. I do not want to be separated from King Power, but I would very much like Top to show some leadership and get rid of these toxic elements on the board of directors.
Isn't that always the hope in a team like this kind of situation? But there it is, Leicester City. They got a couple of games left to play in the Prem here, but they are headed back down to the Championship next season after the Reds sent them off. They did manage to fight for a good while in that game before Trent got
Got a goal,
the winner.
lost a goal.
Yeah, but talking about contracts when it comes to the Reds. I predicted this on last week's show. If you watched it, if you didn't, there's the thing. But I said I'm gonna publish this show, and then Virgil van Dijk's gonna sign like hours after the upload. What
And
should
it happened.
happen? He signs 2 years extension, much the same to Mo Salah's contract extension and contract extension announcement video, which is becoming a thing very fast, which I have to say I'm kind of a fan. Like it kind of jazzes up the business side of sports. I don't know. Maybe we'll see more of this kind of thing
Absolutely.
when it comes to the transfer window. But I thought the most interesting quote on this was it was always going to be Liverpool from Van Dyke. It's almost as if to say, why were you guys worried? Why was there such a big hullabaloo? I was
Well, why'd
wanting
he
to
hold out so
stay.
long?
I was wanting to stay. I mean, Richard Hughes is such a cheapskate, and FSG, if the Boston Red Sox are any indication, are massive cheapskates. So, I mean, I
Oh
get it.
yeah.
I get it. Like he's getting good advice from his agent. I wish like American players would get good agents to get advice from. But yeah, I get it. I'm glad that the deal is done, though. And it seems like everybody's declaring the Reds as title favorites next season now that we got these two extended for 2 more years. But time will tell.
Hard not to.
And moreover, what Alexander Arnold will say at the end of the season. To our knowledge,
Yeah.
no one has signed anything on the dotted line yet. It may come, but we will see. So, top story out of the world of football. Out of the world of F1, following a dismal Bahrain performance from Max Verstappen, a better one at Jeddah, Fraser Watson of The Express reporting that George Russell, given that he is yet to reach a new deal at Mercedes, has allegedly begun talks with Red Bull team principal Christian Horner to take what will likely be an open seat at Red Bull at the end of this season. I mean, MG, your
Yeah.
thoughts? A little bit of a bombshell,
Well,
right?
it is. It absolutely is. The thought of there being a vacant seat at Red Bull is not particularly surprising,
Yeah.
um, given how Liam Lawson's season has gone, as well as Yuki Tsunoda filling that seat.
Yeah, but is it Max's seat that will be empty? Is the question.
That that is quite an interesting
A question.
proposition,
A
isn't it?
question that is. A question that is. Silly season starting early this year. But that
Where
was.
where do you think he'd go?
Oh, I think we've discussed this, I believe, before, but I think the
I think
likeliest
we covered
destination
this in
is
our
Aston
opening
Martin.
video that we lost.
There's the thing. But Aston Martin, likely where Adrian Newey will be come 2026. You get to pair him up with likely,
Yeah.
hopefully, Fernando Alonso for his sake. I mean, can you imagine a team of Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll?
Oh,
Less said about that, the better.
talk about two sides of a coin there.
Oh, man.
But he would look very nice in that British racing green, I
I
have to
agree.
say.
I agree. They'd have to probably stop slagging him off so much in the British media if he joins the
Yeah,
Aston Martin
yeah, they
team.
would.
But
He was on Aston.
I don't know. We will see. We'll be monitoring this situation. Does seem to be some credible news.
Yeah,
Watson of the Express, not the only one reporting this, but it could very well be a rumor. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Going to baseball now, a scary moment that we reported on last week for Kota Yazawa of the Nippon Ham Fighters. He was careening into a wall during a game against the Marines midweek at Zozo. The good news is, after going into the hospital, he is okay. The word is a left femoral medial condyle bone contusion and left quad muscle contusion, and he will likely be back in action in about 2 weeks. So I did promise you an update once we got one on last week's show, and that is the update. And trust me on this, I wasn't sure if you saw the catch, MG. It was a great catch, but at the cost of the body.
yeah.
So we're always glad to see
Fantastic
that he's okay.
news.
Quite right.
That's fantastic news.
Yes. And our final top story here. Talking of Samurai Japan, they will be hosting a series of friendlies against Team Korea this coming November for some, let's call them friendly exhibition games in advance of the 2026
As friendly as a
WBC.
Japan-South Korea series can be.
Yes, indeed. And if you've ever seen any games between Korea and Samurai Japan, you know that there is no such thing as a friendly between those two clubs. A deep historical discontent manifesting itself in the world of baseball. Think the flag planting incident, the only time that Ichiro has ever gotten angry on a baseball diamond. Yes, indeed. But that is definitely going to be a fun series of games to watch. Cannot wait for what will be a holy sports year in 2026 with the WBC, the Winter Olympics, and the World Cup all in the same
Yes,
year. This is in part why this channel exists. Talking about
best
world
Olympics.
sports, though, let's see how everything played out last week, beginning with our Games of the Week scoreboard. Here's how our Games of the Week from last week shaped up. Liverpool beating Leicester City 1-0. A late winner from Trent Alexander-Arnold, of all people, sends the Foxes packing their bags for the championship, but does not win the Reds the title, as Arsenal put 4 past a 10-man Ipswich team. In the Eredivisie, 4-0 Utrecht over Ajax. Utrecht rode the hot hand to an improbable smashing of the title leaders, young Miguel Rodriguez knitting 2, Aronson another, but it all got started with former Ajax striker Sebastian Haller giving the home team the lead. PSV now down by 9, but with a game in hand, they'll try to trim it to 6 against Twente today. 1-0 Bologna over Inter. Bologna nabbing 4th place in Serie A after dominating the vaunted Inter defense, beginning to end. 11 shots, 3 on target, but Riccardo Orsolini gets the 94th minute winner to light up the Renato Dalla Ara. 3-2 Dortmund over Mönchengladbach. Pretty clean game from Dortmund, aside from conceding the pen, dominating possession, outshooting their opponents. Svensson, Nemcha, and Girassi, your scorers for the black and yellow. Stoger converts the pen, and Itakura scores for Mönchengladbach. And into baseball, the Oryx Buffaloes versus the Cebu Lions. It was the Lions that won the series 2-1. A stellar showing from the Lions in the midweek series. They dropped game 1 2-0 to the league leaders on Tuesday, but Wednesday they blast them 5-0 in game 2. Mania Nishikawa, Sosuke Genda, Tyler Nevin, and Shinya Hasegawa all notching 2 hits, while Big Takia Nakamura, who I'm convinced is immortal, slaps 3 in the game. They went for the series win on Thursday and got it. Shuta Tonosaki gets 2 big RBIs to help pick up Taiga Ueda, while Yuta Kuroki gets the win out of what has been a really good Cebu pen. They win it 3-2 over the Buffaloes. In Korea, Twins and Landers. The Twins win the midweek series 2-1. Those Twins Lions just keep on winning. G1O goes 4 for 4 with a bomb in Game 1 to help out Yanni Chirinos, who goes 7 strong innings to shut the Landers down 5-1. Blowout City in Game 2, 11-4 the score in that one. Kim Hyun-soo goes 3 for 4 to keep his average to 354. Good for 4th in the league at time of recording, but the Landers fight back to take Game 3 9-3, thanks in part from a wicked game from Choi Jung-woo, 2 for 3 with a homer, 3 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. And finally in the CBPL, the Hawks win the series over the Dragons 2-1. Hawks getting it done with their most convincing series win of the season, 7-3 in Game 1 and 3-1 in Game 2. Dragons fight back and take Game 3 in a squeaker, 2-1. And that brings us nicely into the way the tables are shaping up going into the week of April 22nd. Beginning in NPB, Oryx still leading the Pacific League, 12 wins, 7 losses, but Nippon Ham with a game in hand as the Fighters will look to draw even with them. Game and a half back, a series win might do it. Rakuten in 3rd, Seibu in 4th, only just in front of the Marines. And the Hawks, who saw this coming, bringing up the rear. Carp still in front by just a game on both the Tigers and the Giants, who, by the way, play each other this weekend. And the Dragons, Swallows, and Baystars rounding things out. Table in the KBO, the Twins remain in the lead. 18 wins on the young season for them. 4.5 up on the KT Wiz and Hanwha Eagles, who are out of the basement. 14-11 on the year for the Hanwha Club. The Lotte Giants moving into 4th place. 13-11, taking it away from the Samsung Lions, who are sitting at 12-12. Rough start to the year for the Kia Tigers, 11-12, Landers down to 7th. CTBC Brothers in front in CBPL, Uni Lions just behind them by a game and a half, and the Dragons rounding out the top 3, 2 games back of the lead. Hawks, Monkeys, and Guardians rounding out the bottom 3, but it has to be said, I think the Hawks are probably poised for a charge. Switch to the world of football, and this is the table as it is looking right now. Leicester and Southampton both relegated. Ipswich is close. Arsenal are just hanging on by a thread. They have to win against Crystal Palace to keep it going, while the Reds might win it if Crystal Palace is able to get it done against Arsenal on Wednesday. We're taping this on Tuesday evening. The Reds win, and the title is theirs on Sunday. Lots to play for, though, as Man City, Nottingham Forest, and Newcastle all battling it out for those top remaining few spots, and Chelsea knocking on the door as well. And with Utrecht's victory over Ajax, things get interesting at the top of the table. PSV with a chance to trim the lead down to 6. With a victory against FC Twente. We will be getting to that game imminently. Rotterdam and Utrecht rounding out the top 4 in the Eredivisie. No change in the bottom feeders, the back markers, whatever you want to call them. Still extremely tight. Arguably the tightest in the Serie A. Inter and Napoli now both even on points after Inter's collapse against Bologna in minute 94. It's going to go down to the wire in Italy. You're not going to want to miss a moment of it. And finally, in the Bundesliga, Leverkusen looks like it's just out of reach for him. 8 points as Bayern will look to lock it up this weekend. Champions again, presumably, when this weekend is out. And that perfectly takes us to our games of the week for April the 22nd. Starting in England, no surprise here. Reds at home taking on the Spurs, and if they win, the title is theirs. They might already have it by the time they take the pitch on Sunday, but we will see. That one likely on Peacock, but it may also be on USA Network, so you're just going to have to pay attention for that one. Twente and PSV on Thursday in the Eredivisie. An opportunity to keep the title race alive. They're on a good run of form, PSV, and they should keep it going against Twente, and then they can put real pressure on Ajax down the stretch. Standing in their way, however, is one of the most potent forwards in all of Europe, Sem Stein. And that should be a fun matchup, Stein against PSV's defense. In Italy, it's 1-6 at time of recording. Roma in 6th place. Bologna is in 4th for now, but Roma is just 3 points off that 4th spot, and they haven't been defeated since December the 15th of 2024. An awesome unbeaten league run. Meanwhile, Inter needs to win to keep that top spot, especially considering Napoli has a little bit of an easier task to face Torino this weekend, and again, they are even on points at the top of the table. In Germany, Munich versus Mainz, one more win for Bayern, 8 points, 4 games. They get this over the line, and they will take the title back from Leverkusen. It's not impossible for Xabi Alonso's men, but it is pretty darn close. In NPB, it's weekend series action. Giants coming to Koshien this time around. Tigers smacked them around at the Tokyo Dome last time these two teams met. Honorable mention, Lions welcoming the first place Buffaloes after the Lions won the series at Kyocera Dome last week, and the Buffaloes will be coming to the Bellona Dome in Saitama over the weekend. Either of those series will be a very fun watch, I assure you of that. 2-3 in the KBO, also playing on the weekend. Hanwha and KT. Eagles offense coming alive against the Dinos last weekend, while the Wiz smacked the Landers around in the midweek series. And then finally in the CBPL, we'll see if the Hawks can keep it going against the Uni Lions. So there are your games of the week. And our final graphic that we will introduce this week to you is how the Jeddah Grand Prix played out. A dominant victory for Oscar Piastri. And in fact, Lando Norris awarded second place after Max Verstappen is assessed that penalty, which we'll be talking about imminently. I could see Geezy smiling through the camera. Russell and Leclerc rounding out your top 5. Kimi Antonelli in the points yet again in his rookie season. Lewis Hamilton down in 7th place. Alex Albon, Esteban Ocon, and Lance Stroll round out your points scores. And a predictable finish for the Sauber team with Gabriel Bortoleto in last place. F2 champion not adjusting to life all that well in that machine. But that proves a nice segue. Let's talk racing. So, we asked the question after the Jeddah Grand Prix. Who's the number 1 McLaren right now? It's not Lando Norris.
It's gotta be Oscar Piastri.
At least I don't think so. I don't know where you land on this, but credit to Lando. He's had a lot of great drives, even up to this point in the season where he has had to come back from the brink. I mean, had the quali wreck and the penalties, and then more penalties during Jeddah, and he's just somehow found a way to get himself back in contention. But honestly, where's his head? Where is his head? He has not made these kind of mistakes before.
He seems to be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think so.
And it feels like that's getting to him.
Yeah.
On some level, that it's not to Piastri, but which Piastri, Norris, I feel like is under much tighter scrutiny than Piastri has been this season.
Yeah, I think there was very much a question of sky's the limit for Oscar, whereas, this is our world champion. This is our number 1 driver. I don't know. Maybe if that focus shifts, will we see a change in Piastri? But at this point, it seems like Oscar eats pressure on the Barbie.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, considering our history of world champions here. You look at Max most recently, you look at Hamilton, you look at even further back in the Schumachers and the holy Sennas of the time. These guys have all been able to just keep it cool under pressure. And Lando, I love him. He's never been able to do that, even in his years in the sport. I think a large reason why Max got away last season was because the pressure of the title fight got to him. And not everybody's cut out to be a world champion. Some people are really good F1 drivers who will never win a title. Yes. Maybe Lando's that. We'll have to see.
I can think of several in this year's lineup that I would put in that category.
And in the commentary box. Julian Palmer.
I
love him. He's really smart. He knows way more about cars than I ever will. But I don't know. It's just it's one of those where like you have Eduardo Perez in like as a color commentator, like, dude, whatever you want in baseball. But anyway,
Yeah.
that the question at hand.
Something also the just something that has amused me this season is the utter disaster that the drinks dispensers have been in the racers' helmets. The
Yes, too right.
absolute disaster.
I mean, you want to count that. You can. We're talking disasters. You can talk about Martin Brundle making absolutely awful Jennifer Lopez puns in Abu Dhabi, trying to be like, oh, she must be waiting for the night. Piss off, Brundle. No one ever liked you. Anyway, moving on to our list of questions following that race. Was Max Verstappen beaten to corner number one? The answer I
Yes.
think that you and I agree with is absolutely yes. Uh,
Yes. He had no intention of making that corner.
no.
Piastri had the lead on him. He was
Yeah.
his responsibility to yield. He elected not to. He's very lucky it wasn't a 10-second penalty or having to yield the position.
And the devil's advocate that I have on this, and I don't know if this is keeping you up at night, but it is me, that was he right to force a decision out of the stewards? Like, and, I understand
Hmm.
like the right and fair, respectful way is to cede the place. Naturally, I agree on that. You agree on that. Everybody watching at home
Yeah.
agrees on this. But is he really in the wrong for doing it that way?
I
I don't.
don't think so.
No, I don't really think so either. But because the stewards, as we've seen, have proven to be very unreliable and wishy-washy judges of the rules, like the Supreme
Yes.
Court of the United States of America. But so we ask ourselves, like, how much grief does Max deserve, and how much is a little bit blown out of proportion? I thought the commentary team was really mugging him off a little bit for
Oh, I
doing it
agree.
that way, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean,
We're also not the ones in the car, so
I think it's not his responsibility to just feed the position until a decision is given.
yeah, yeah,
Or he gets instructed by Red Bull to cede the position.
yeah. It's a tricky line. It's a tricky line, like corner number one, but. I think in the wrong,
Yes.
he was given the penalty for the right reason, and
Yes.
Oscar made the most of it. Plain
Yes.
and simple. But he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one. What a race from Charles Leclerc. Came
Yes.
out of nowhere to make that interesting. And honestly, and this is a really good point that Alex Jakes made, I thought, that if he stays out there, if he goes for a one stop, he wins that race. Easy.
Oh, yes.
By a mile. So, but I mean, this is
He was fabulous.
he was. I mean, this is we got a glimpse into it was like Monaco last season. We can finally see what he's capable of when he's just
Mhm.
absolutely unleashed. And Ferrari get all of their strategy calls right because no team ever gets every strat call right. But
No.
Ferrari's especially awful at them. Love you, Fred, but read the book.
Yeah. Speaking of Norris, the absolute comedy of his battle with Hamilton, throwing on the DRS and passing at the beginning of the DRS zone, only to immediately get passed again multiple times. I
I
can
just
understand doing it once.
It was fun. It was really fun, though. I'm so glad that you pointed that out because I think I probably would have forgotten about it had you not mentioned it. But it was fun. It really, really was fun. Fair play to Kimi Antonelli for getting the points yet again with the
Very,
car that
very
is
good
making
kid.
us. The car is making us look really dumb. Remember how we said at the start of the year we both did that Mercedes was going to be dreadful, and it very much
Yeah.
is not. It is a dangerous, dangerous machine up to this point in the year. So fair play to both George and Kimmy for getting the most out of those machines. And honestly, great drive from Max after getting the penalty. Credit where credit is due. He flexed his muscle and he was way better than he was in Bahrain. So That's a wrap on
Yes.
the Jeddah GP. Miami up next, 4th of May at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm so annoyed because if this was not Miami, I would actually be able to watch the race. But since it's on the East Coast on the 4th of May, take a wild freaking guess as to what I'll be doing. You're a Trekkie, so you don't understand. But
Oh, I
I
I dabble. I dabble
know you
in the
don't.
wars side.
Well, yeah, you can do the reporting for both of us then. It should be fun, and Miami, of course, the place last year where it all changed for McLaren, and honestly, the sport as
Yes.
a whole, when that wild championship fight between Norris and Verstappen commenced, when Kryptonite was deployed for the very first time on Super Max. So we will see how Jeddah plays out again May 4th, 4 p.m. Eastern on F1 TV and ESPN. But without further ado, it's your time to shine, my friend. Catch us up
All
on
right.
what happened in the playoffs of European hockey.
So, taking you first to the Elite Ice Hockey League in the United Kingdom. Fun fact about them, they are the only professional sports league to include representatives from all of the constituent countries of the United Kingdom.
Bravo. Bravo to
So
them.
well done, EIHL.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers defeated the Devils in double overtime
Boy, I
in the
love drama.
championship match. So Nottingham wins the championship on home ice, 4-3.
Very cool.
I believe it was 98 plus minutes of hockey in that final game,
Ah, that's what I
which
like to
is
see in a
a
championship game.
long time to be skating.
It's a good game though. It makes for a really good game as a fan, but respect to those guys, and I really hope they took care of their quads. But continue, please.
Oh, absolutely. Moving on to Germany in the Deutsche Eishockey Liga, the Berlin Eisbären lead the Kölner Haie 3-1. The game four finished with a score of 7-0 for the Ice Bears.
Wow.
Your next game will be on Friday at 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central. In the Czech Extraliga, Pardubice and Kometa Brna are tied 2-2. Next game will also be on Friday at noon 11 Central.
Okay.
In Finland, in the Liga, Kalpa and Saipa are competing for the championship. They are your final two teams. Game one will commence on Friday at 9:15 Eastern, 8:15 Central. That is morning time,
All right.
just so you are aware. And finally, on the Swedish front, Brinas and I've been learning how to pronounce that A with the circle over it.
I have no idea, so tell us how.
I believe it is Lulio
Okay.
or Lulio, kinda. It's an AO sound,
It's a
which is it's a
valiant
tricky one
attempt.
for my English brain to make. Um, Lulio. Their game three will be on Saturday at 3:15 local time in Sweden. Um, oh no, I typed those times wrong. Look it up yourself. Sorry about that,
It's
friends.
okay. Oh, it happens to the
That is
best of us.
3:15 local time in Sweden, which will be 9:15, 8:15 Central. For the time of the Liga game one, you'll have to look that one up yourselves.
There you go, and I'll see if I can track him down and put him in the description. But that is what's happening in the world of European hockey. Boy, he learns quick, doesn't he? He's a marvelous sports broadcaster, isn't he, guys? This is it's so fun. But okay. All right, as we're educated, he is educating us on hockey. We're going to educate him a little bit on a little bit of sports history, and maybe you at home, if for some reason this is the first time you're ever clicking on a video from this channel. It used to be the Global Baseball Network. Obviously, we have not lost an ounce of our baseball coverage here on this channel, but if you are a returning subscriber, then likely you know this gentleman's name. But for the people that aren't, including my delightful co-host here, this is a tale of Eiji Sawamura. It's a name you might know already because the Sawamura Award is, as ESPN and American commentators are so fond of pointing out whenever there's a Japanese baseball anything involved in anything, it's Japan's equivalent of the Cy Young. Yeah, so it's named for the best pitcher in Japan, and his story is one that is hauntingly beautiful. He was born in Mie Prefecture, out in the boondocks, in 1917. Signed out of high school by the founder of the JBL, the original NPB before NPB was formed, and also the owner of Yomiuri Shimbun, which owns the Yomiuri Giants, by the name of Masataro Shiriki. He is a newspaper magnate that came with the frame in terms of who he is as a businessman. Definitely not really above cutthroat tactics to get what he needs to do, but also kind of a delightfully liberal man for the time. A guy who was so radical that he decided to let Americans play in Japanese baseball stadiums, and the far right didn't like that very much. So they took a stab
Mm.
at assassinating him with a katana. He survived and wore an eye patch for the rest of his life. A badass, to be sure. But Shiriki wants this young, very talented high school pitcher to join this thing that he's calling the Tokyo Kyojin. That will later become the Yomiuri Giants. It's an all Nippon All Star team in 1934 that takes on an MLB All Star team that comes to Meiji Jingu Stadium with the
Oh.
likes of Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Charlie Gehringer, and Connie Mack managing an entire team of major leaguers. They play 18 games in Japan in 1934. They win all 18, but in game 3, they win it by just 1 run. It finishes
Ooh.
1-0 because in the 4th inning, a young man named Sawamura comes to the mound. Due up are Ruth, Fox, Gehrig. Strikes out the side. Takes the mound the next inning to face off against All-Star and World Series winning second baseman, shortstop, Charlie Gehringer of the Detroit Tigers. Fans him on 3 pitches and holds the American All-Stars to 1 run for the remainder of the game. The 1 run, a Lou Gehrig home run that came in the 7th. One that he said to the day that he died was a lucky swing of the bat. So
High praise from.
Sawamura goes down in legend for this performance alone. But obviously, when JBL kicks off and the Yomiuri Giants, or the Tokyo Giants at that time, are formed in earnest, he becomes the ace of the team very quickly and throws 3 no-hitters in his very short professional career. 1937, he wins the pitching Triple Crown, but he does it just with 2 pitches, fastball and a curveball. He had no other
Wow.
pitches. He
Two
was
pitches.
2 pitches. That was it. But that fastball and the curve, the way that natural ability that he had was such that, and honestly, a little bit of mythology too. I think there was a lot of hitters that went up against him that said, "Oh, this guy got Babe Ruth. This kid
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
got Babe Ruth." And I
Well,
mean
you
that,
face a rolled as Chapman, you hear he throws 108.
yeah. At your head, Sawamura never did that, but he gets drafted to fight in China in 1939. And the thing you need to know, you'll come across this the more you research Japanese baseball history around this period, especially. The IJA likes to do this thing called grenade throwing competitions. And when you're a pitcher, naturally, you're predisposed to do pretty well at those, but you
Sure.
really risk doing significant damage to your shoulder.
Yeah,
And
you really don't want to
unfortunately,
throw a grenade like a baseball.
Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to poor AG.
Oh,
Messes his shoulder up, does manage to pitch for a few more years after this point, but he's never the same after 1939. And he gets all
yeah.
sorts of diseases fighting in the tropics of China, but he is able to come back and pitch even during the war through certain spells, selectively in 1940, in 1941, 1943, loses the ace spot to a man by the name of Victor Starfin, who, there's the thing if you want to learn about him, but short story for UMG, a Russian immigrant who becomes one of the greatest early pitchers in Japanese baseball. Um, and that's putting it very, very quickly. But AG dies in 1943 at the tender age of 27
Oh,
aboard the SS Hawaii Maru, getting sunk by a U.S. torpedo. And now the Salamer Award bears his name in remembrance. And to this day, a guy that not a whole lot of people know a whole lot about still, because the
yeah.
records of his life were so scant and
Right.
mysterious and a lot of times inflated with all the mythology that
Sure.
surrounded him. But an important figure to be sure in the history of Japanese baseball that now you know about and you at home know about as well. Your history lesson for the week. I'm sure we'll be doing a few more of these as the season wears on. One final topic before we roll. I wanted to pick your brain, MG, about you have discussed your exposure to sports as a fan on the show before. What about as a participant?
Well, I was a competitive fencer
That
for a good
absolutely
while.
counts. Didn't
That
really know
that
that
was my
about you.
sport. I didn't have much of a knack for ball sports as a youth, but I picked up fencing in, I believe, seventh grade. Did that all through high school. Um, and then when I entered college, I had discovered the theatrical side of sword sports
Naturally.
and fully embraced that. So my athletic career is largely with some steel in my hand.
Well, that is cool. That is cool. And it is an
Now,
Olympic sport,
yes,
to be
and
sure,
I
so
played
that's
plenty of
instant cred.
intramural, intramural flag football in college, and a little bit of baseball as a youth, and soccer as a youth, and
Is it something
a
that you
whole
would
lot of
want to pick
Louisville
up
Chugger,
again?
of course.
Is it something that you would want to pick up again for fun recreationally?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it's
Absolutely. I'd love to play some football, love to play some baseball. Well,
what's the
softball
recreation?
might be more my speed these days with the knees I've got now.
Well, there is that. There is that to be sure. But I mean, I'll caution you against this, and maybe you at home agree with me, that adult softball leagues, by and large, no disrespect to the people that take it really seriously. I do appreciate you for doing that because it pluses it up a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Baseball, if baseball is Ibiza, adult league softball is a sock hop in Utah. It's just so sanitized and just too clean. It's too clean. I'll tell you this. I'll
Yeah.
tell you a story that the first and only time up to this point, I have since recommitted to doing it some more because I've decided that I'm having too many withdrawals from being on a diamond. But the first time I ever played softball was with my church locally here in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I went out there. I spanked a little dink shot into shallow left field, managed to reach base first at bat, and I take instinctively, mind you. I've got some legs on me. I can run fairly
Yeah.
quickly, not to toot my own
Take a
horn,
little
but
lead.
take a lead. I do. You're out. Apparently, you're not only are you not allowed to steal bags, but you're also not allowed to take leads off of bases in adult league softball. If you play in a league, you
That's
watching this, if you play in a league where you're allowed to steal and take leads off of bases, please let us know. I want to hear about it. I want to make sure I've still got some faith, but it's just a drag. And the
that's
only
the
way,
game.
it is the game. It is the game. But you know what? My solution is this season, I'm just going to try to hit as many swamp donkey piss missiles as possible
Yeah,
and just get
just
joy that
nothing but
way.
dingers.
But there
Nothing
it
but
is.
dingers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like I love baseball more than life itself, in case that isn't immediately obvious by my body of work here on this website. But it's there's just no thrill in the world that compares to being smack in the middle innings, stepping up to bat with a runner on maybe first and second, pitcher's sweating, you're sweating, everybody's dusty, everybody's gross, but everybody's just having the best time.
Hmm.
It's just there's nothing in the world like a shobu. That's a new term for you. It means a one-on-one between a pitcher and the batter. It's a common Japanese term, but it's something that
Yeah.
I don't really think we draw enough attention to in America. But I miss my
Well,
playing days. I do.
I think baseball has gotten more so than many other sports has gotten very sanitized as
Mhm.
compared to its roots.
Well, it's for this like the perfect games and the IMG academies of the world. You know, it's these kids
Yeah,
that most the ones that get to play it are the ones that have all the money.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's not
And
the case in the Caribbean, but in this
right,
country it
right.
is.
At the end of the day, baseball is a weird, archaic little game you play with your friends to have a couple beers,
Yeah.
and now we pay athletes millions of dollars to do it.
Yeah.
It used to be a thing in the MLB. You get to third base, your third base coach hands you a beer. That was your reward for getting to third.
Can you tell he's a Cubs fan? Of course he'd know. Of course he'd know this. Of
Of
course he'd
course,
know this.
yeah,
But it's true. But it's
yeah.
true. You're absolutely right. I mean, they used to put umpires in cages. You know, it used to be
Babe
this
Ruth would smoke two packs in the dugout.
and eat three hot dogs. And
Yes,
presumably tell a lady of the night that he had waiting for him to just leave for a little bit. We got extra innings. I don't know. I miss uh how just rough and tumble it used to be.
yeah,
I really do. And this is why we do what we do here at ISN, because baseball in particular, it needs this kind of saving, and it has been saved all over the world, in Asia, in Korea, Taiwan, Japan,
yeah,
and obviously still alive and well in the Caribbean, the way it has always been, and even in South America, of
absolutely.
course. But you need to draw attention to these things because we can see the potential of how beautiful and wonderful this game can
Yeah,
be in its essence. And the same rings true for football as well. I mean, I think that, you know, when any time that you get so much corporate interference in anything, in
yes,
any art, you're going to have a degree of sanitation that goes on. But things like the Super League, I'm
yeah,
so happy that karma prevailed to destroy that, because we lose the purity of the game that way.
absolutely.
And we get too wrapped up in the sponsorships and the yelling and the screaming and the ultras and all this kind of this toxic fan culture that's becoming more and more apparent. You
Yes,
miss that. You lose the game in the sauce. And here
yeah.
this is what we're here to do. We're here to clean up the sauce.
It's 22 men chasing a ball around a field of grass while a bunch of other men scream at them.
And then you get people like Johan Cruyff who can do ballet
Yes.
while dribbling that ball.
Yes, and
The
you get
point.
magic.
And that's the point. The magic of the game.
Yeah. Well,
The
and
magic
with
of the game.
baseball is a game of anticipation. It is a game of long stretches of nothing whatsoever. You can play a full 9 innings as an outfielder and touch the ball 3 times.
Yeah, you're
Um,
absolutely
you
right.
you stand around and nothing happens, and then in one moment, everything happens all at the same time.
Uh, there's just
It's anticipation for the players and the fans, and that's why I think the pitch clock and the designated hitter are bullshit.
make pitchers hit again. Make
Make
pitchers hit
pitchers
again.
hit again.
That's if you take
The
nothing
best
from
thing in
this.
baseball is making pitchers have to hit. Because
Central
we get
League.
things like Jake Arrieta
Oh,
hitting a solo home run on the way to a Cubs World Series.
and Bartolo. Lest we forget Bartolo. But
Hmm.
yes, Central League. If there are any executives listening to this video who represent the Central League of Nippon Professional Baseball, do not adopt the designated hitter. Do
Do
not
not
do it.
adopt the designated hitter.
Never change. Maybe.
Well, now we've got high school kids being pitching only.
Okay. Yeah, we gotta nip this in
We're,
the
we're
bud
gonna we're
because we're gonna
this
go
this
for a
needs to be a
while on
separate
this.
video.
We're gonna go for a while on this, but this
Yeah,
alone is gold. Leave us,
this
leave
needs to
us,
be a separate video.
leave us a note in the comments what you think of POs, what you think of the designated hitter, and all of this. Let's start a conversation on the magic of the game. Do that in the comments down
Yes.
below. Tell us what the most magical sport is for you and why. Huh. God, that was fun. That was so fun. Thank you for sharing that with
Oh,
me,
I
my
love
friend. We
talking
went we
baseball.
went for a little bit there. We went for a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
That
That
was
was good.
very, very fun. Hopefully there will be more of that on next week's show. Next week we are. I've decided actually. I think what we're going to do, we're gonna we're gonna produce a short little history lesson video for all of you to play for your edification in the grand tradition of the Dugout Wizard from one of my favorite TV shows of all time, The Baseball Bunch. Episodes are available here on YouTube, which I'll link in the description. The Sadaharu O episode that we reacted to 2 years ago. But in the grand tradition of the Dugout Wizard, we're going to do a nice little history lesson video for you next week that we'll play in the show and then upload separately here on ISN. It will be on the Blue Eyed Japanese. Yes, that was his real nickname, Victor Starfin. So you can look forward to that. We'll also have a look at Miami ahead because I just remember we are off a week in terms of F1.
Yes.
And of course, we might be talking about the eventual Premier League champions next week. We will have to see how everything goes. There might be another slip. Who knows? God, I hope not, but you never know. And I think also we will be setting our sights on something that really grinds my gears since we had such fun ranting on things we don't like about the sanitization of baseball. We're going to target take culture on next
Yes.
week's show. So look forward to that. Make sure you come back here as you do every week, every Thursday, for a new episode of the International Sports Report. Please do like and share this iteration if you enjoyed it. Subscribe and hit the bell icon down below the video screen to be notified every single time we upload a new episode of this show or anything else that we think is fun. Let us know in that comment section what you think the most magical sport is for you and why. I'd love to start a conversation for you about it. For the ever talented Matthew Gieske, my name is Marshall Lamert. Thank you very much for watching the International Sports Report. We'll see you in the next one, but for now, that's the game.